Hey everybody, Dad here from Daddy Daughter Rips, and today we are going to dive into the numbers. We are 6 months into our TCG player business, and we wanted to show what our gross sales are, how many orders we've done, and what are some interesting kind of statistics or numbers that we can bear out based off of our 6 months in business. We're looking forward to checking out with you, and let's dive right in. All right, so here you can see our sales summary report from January to basically today. We started in early January. I think our TCG player account got created like the first week of January. We started selling cards from our collections, etc. And this is where we stand as of 7/18. So we got a little over 10,000 in gross sales. We're at 912 total orders. We've paid almost $1,800 in fees. So net sales minus fees, is 8,500. Net sales just over 10K. So we've just reached that 5-figure category as far as sales. We are pretty small time. You look at some of the other, YouTube personalities or businesses out on TCG Player or eBay, and they make this in a month, right? So we're pretty small time. But it's pretty cool to look back and think, hey, back in January, we were excited for one order, and now we have almost 1,000 6 months later. This is gross sales. This is not profit. We reinvest almost everything back into the business. We take small amounts out to either pay the girls for, helping me pack orders, or they're selling their own cards. Everything else kind of goes straight into the business. So I would say, our typical sales margins are, anywhere from probably 5 to 15%. So we're not making a ton off of this. Again, I think we've barely broken even, optimistically. I don't really track it at a hardcore level, but these are the numbers. One thing that I experienced as we got kind of started with all of this is, hey, what's scary about shipping out orders? And it's lost orders, right? We're shipping with plain white envelopes, PWEs. What happens if we lose them? What if they don't get shipped? What if they arrive damaged? Honestly, I think this video will be really helpful for some folks, because not only do we show just some numbers for like your average Joe who just spends maybe a couple hours a week working on something like this, but also, demystify some of those scary aspects of like, what do I do with refunds? What if somebody complains about the conditioning on the cards, or whatever kind of scenario we'll walk through? So I thought it'd be really helpful. We've got almost 1,000 orders. How many returns have we had to do? How many refunds have we had to do? Things like that. So we're gonna look to dive into that and talk a little bit more about how we approach these things. All right, so here are the raw numbers. I didn't get super scientific with this, but just kind of paging through messages that I've received, or just remembering kind of different things. So we have 912 orders as of July, or middle of July here, and total, we have processed only 3 returns. So I think this is something that I was a little anxious about when I started the business, was what do we do? How do we process returns, right? And look at this, it's less than 1% of my orders, like way less than 1% of my orders have been returned because of issues, right? The biggest one, the only really notable one, quite frankly, was I sold a Chaos Rising Pokemon Center ETB that had just the tiniest of corner rip in the seal, and it was a collector. They wanted to send it back. We got it taken care of. Wasn't as scary a process. Yeah, we're out a little bit of money, but we got the product back in the condition as described. But it's just not something worth fretting about. If you take care of your cards, you know what you're doing, you have things organized, and you satisfy your customers, you will not have many returns. This is not a big deal. I know sometimes when I'm on Reddit or kind of browsing around online, I will see folks be like, every time I turn around, I'm having to return cards or deal with people. And I'm hoping that these numbers kind of help bear out that if you are on top of things, you will not run into this issue. Total missing envelopes. Here, again, we have 3. So this entire time, we've done 912 orders. I have had 3 PWEs, plain white envelopes, no tracking, all go missing in the mail. These have all been probably sub $5 orders, or right around $5 in orders. And they really haven't been that much of an impact, right? As you can see from the numbers, we've done 5 figures in sales, and we're talking about $15, $20 in total missing envelopes. If you were to ship some of those cards in a bubble mailer, you'd be looking at spending $15+, very close to that $20 just in shipping. And it just works out, right? These are misses, right? We lost out on revenue because of these 3 missing envelopes, but it's not the end of the world. So again, I think the thought of PWAs going missing or not arriving, I tend to find on TCG Player, that's just really not a huge issue. I'm sure this number will continue to grow as we do more and more business, right? Inevitably, stuff's gonna get lost in the mail. But right now, less than 1% of orders are impacted. Not a big deal. All right, let's talk about sending wrong cards. So this is purely our fault or the vendor's fault, right? Is if I send you the wrong card. I have had a total of 3 of these out of the 912 orders where I have, sent the wrong card. I think one great example of this is, I forget what set it is, but there's a Poniard 91 and a 92. One of them was the Yukimori. It was like, I believe the 92, and I sent the 91. Another one was like, I forgot a card, right? Just slipped my mind. But the buyers were nice enough to reach out and say, hey, this was missing. Is there anything you can do about it? And I just reached out and I said, hey, yeah, let me send you that missing card or the correct card. Keep the cards that I sent you. If I sent you the wrong one, not a big deal. And we'll get you taken care of. But again, that's kind of, this is one's completely in my control or any vendor's control is like, did you send the right thing to people? But occasionally it happens and it's just not that big of a deal, right? You reach out to the customer, they reach out to you and you go, hey, we messed up, we're gonna get you this order, we're gonna get the right card out to you, and everybody's happy. And honestly, I find, generally speaking, if I take care of a customer in this way, they're ecstatic. They love that I was willing to send out a new card, and yeah, it cost me a little bit extra in shipping and stuff, but I'd much rather have a happy customer who might come back to me than just be like, well, tough luck, I'm not gonna send you a 10-cent card be over the stamp. Well, that was my fault, I'm gonna make it up to you. All right, and then here's another one, condition issues. I see this one a ton online, right? Where everybody's complaining about Pokemon collectors or Magic collectors really being frustrated with conditioning on TCG Player. I will say I tend to be a little on the conservative side with my grading of the cards in the sense of, pretty much any marks whatsoever. There's a little bit of wiggle room in the TCG Player kind of guidelines, but I'll usually mark it as like light played. If I just kind of go by my gut a lot of cases, because I don't want to create a ton of arguments around, well, is it 6%, is it 30% whitening, etc. So what we do here is we've had about 6 cards or complaints from customers that are complaining about condition issues. Most of the time, I would say only 2 or 3 of these have resulted in a return. Most of the time, folks are pretty happy with, the suggested TCG Player kind of definition of like, hey, I'll knock 10% off to go down to lightly played, or if you kind of recategorize. I have found that people can be a little cranky when the condition is not correct. This is less so with Magic. I think I've only had this happen once with Magic, where there was a collector and there was a scratch on the card that they just didn't like and it wouldn't fit in the binder well, so they wanted to return the card. In Pokemon, sometimes customers can come off a little antagonistic, and the best way to deal with it is just not spend a ton of time on it, right? Sometimes I'll ask them for pictures just to kind of verify, like, hey, where did I go wrong? Did I miss something on the card? Can I offer an adjustment and see it with my own eyes? A lot of customers will be willing to work with you on that, but sometimes they're not. I had one person who was just adamant. They were like, it doesn't meet the requirements and and honestly, it was between I offered them a return or, a little bit of a refund based off the card. I gave them a little bit more than like the 20% that I kind of initially offered, because it just wasn't worth the effort. By the time I processed the return and kind of dealt with the person, it just really wasn't worth kind of quibbling over like $1 or $2. I mean, we were talking about like a $5 card. And so in those situations, I just kind of cut my losses, right? And I think I might have even blocked that buyer, honestly, because it was really frustrating to kind of deal with that tone. I felt like, you know, when I communicated with them, I was like, hey, you know, I'm really sorry. Would you be willing to send pictures? And they were immediately like, I don't have to send pictures, you know, And I was like, you know what? It's just not worth my time or effort to really worry about this too much. So we cut a deal on that and we were off to the races. But again, we're talking about less than 1% of the total orders that I have processed have had condition issues. When I started in January, I didn't know up from down as far as near mint, lightly played, moderately played, heavily played, damaged, any of that. No clue. I learned it all on the fly. But I think it's really important to recognize that sometimes you will see people talk about these issues like, oh, all my envelopes go missing. Oh, I sent the wrong card. Oh, the conditions are always being picky. It just doesn't really bear out in my experience. If you're really paying attention to your business, grading your cards, making sure that you understand what's in your inventory, having a good inventory system, having a process around a lot of this stuff really seems to cut down on a lot of these experiences. And just being honest with folks, right? And working with them generally creates a pretty positive experience across the board. All right, I have a sixth one that I wanted to kind of bring up and talk about a little bit here. And so envelopes return. This is another big one that you see online where people are packing orders in PWEs and they get insufficient postage, non-machinable, whatever it may be. 2 or 3 envelopes that have been returned out of the 912 orders that I've processed. I have had to deal with 5 to 6 issues with the post office. Does it stink when it happens? 100%. It's really, really annoying to receive a letter back from the post office saying insufficient postage, whatever, especially when you know that you've packed it the right way. But just kind of want to emphasize, I don't do anything special, right? I have shipped anywhere from 1 to 30 some odd cards in a plain white envelope, no issues. I've had everything come back from a roughly 30 card bundle, you know, the 3 stacks inside the PWE. I had that return once, was able to make some adjustments, resend, it got through just fine. I've also had just a single top loader with a couple extra cards. I think it was like 5 cards total. Get kicked back as non-machinable, even though I've slotted everything to left, it's bendable in the middle. These things will happen. You're going to experience it with the post office. But in my experience so far, I've definitely heard differently on the internet, but in my experience so far, it just really hasn't been a big deal. Again, we're talking about way less than 1% of my orders. Even if it was 1%, you know, you're talking about, you know, an extra, you know, 10 stamps in order to kind of reprocess these things. Now, I do remember I was talking to one guy, we were doing a bulk deal together in person, and he was saying that he was having lots of problems. But in my experience, maybe I've just been lucky, this really hasn't been a big issue. You know, if you're having problems, I think you'd be able to make this work a lot better. All right, so there we have it. That is 6 months in review. That's 5 figures worth of sales, definitely not profit. But hopefully this kind of makes things a little less scary when we think about either starting a business or continuing or growing our business. Is these issues or these bugaboos that are going to happen really don't make up the vast majority of your experience on TCG Player, right? Again, out of 900 some odd orders, I'm going to keep repeating this, almost 1,000 orders, and we're in the single digits for issues or errors across the board. In fact, if you sum all of my issues up, so, you know, returns, there's a little bit of overlap with like condition issues and returns, you know, I am less than 1%, or right around 1% of all orders having an issue, and it just gets blown out of proportion at times. So take this information for what you will. Obviously your experience might be a little bit different. If it is, let me know. I would be very curious to see what you've had to change or what your general numbers are in order to better understand how to improve this, right? I think so far, maybe we're just in a bit of a lucky stretch, but this has been our experience. Wanted to share it with you all. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're willing, and we will catch you on the flip side.